Today on the real estate spot, we'll be taking a look at some of the benefits that the NHT offers to the public. And a lot of times you'll hear persons, well, they're not here. A lot of persons you'll see apply to the NHT scheme units, and especially for the younger persons, based on the point system, it kinds of set a disadvantage for the younger persons, because especially for developments within the St. Catherine area, over the past 2 years we have seen where these developments, the minimum points given to persons, or the minimum points a person that is selected, is between like 450 to 500, and you will find that young persons, especially if you just started to work maybe 2 to 3 years, you will not accumulate so much points, because you accumulate 20 points per year, and then you have another points based on a level of income, and the higher income is the less points you receive, because as you know, the NHT is built around offering housing solution to low income earners. So today we'll be taking a look at some of the benefits or some of the ways that persons can go about in basically going on the open market to seek home ownership. So remember to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Alright, so first we'll take a look at the joint program that is offered by the NHT. And the joint program is basically that you are able to go on the open market to purchase a home, and what NHT will allow to do is you will able to join with a financial institution under the NHT Joint Program that allows you to pool your NHT funds, and then also you're able to pool your NHT funds with what the bank is offering you based on your amount you are eligible for. So normally it's best you go and you speak to the financial institution and get a pre-qualification letter. So looking on what the joint program is about, so it's seek a joint partnership with a partnering institution, and these partnering institution is basically most of the financial institutions in Jamaica. So the JN Bank, the Victoria Mutual, the NCB, the First Global Bank, and the Jamaica Money Market Brokers, JFMP. Basically, for example, if you should see a property for sale, for example, $10 million, you would know that you would get your 6.5 from NHT, and then now you will get the remainder of that amount from one of these financial institutions. And how the joint program works also is that you don't have to, for example, apply to NHT, then you're going to apply to the financial institution. The financial institution operates as a one-stop shop for everything. So what they would do is that you submit your, you do your pre-qualification, so much you're eligible for, and then you would also do your application and necessary information that the financial institution will need. And then now the financial institution is the one that will liaison with NHT to see if you are qualified. For example, if you're a public sector worker, they will ensure that based on that the NHT will give you the reduced the 1% reduction in the interest rate. So they act as this one-stop shop. Also, when you're paying the mortgage, the payment is to the financial institution, and the financial institution will disburse the payments to the portion of NHT payment to the NHT. I think I've heard also that where some cases is that the the financial institution will either pay over the money that you'd have borrowed to NHT already. And then now it's basically all the funds that you're paying will be just to the bank. But that is not your concern in that area. But how it works is that the bank operates. So the bank get their portion and then send over the other portion to the NHT. So the joint program is basically a route where you can join, and then you can join, and then it allows you to, even if you're joining, two of you are joining, you still get your 13 from NHT, then you can go to the financial institution, both persons, and then now also join your amount that the bank would have offered you each. So it's a good way also to look on home ownership. All right, and next thing that the NHT offers, a lot of time persons will have issues in coming up with their deposit. So the NHT offers a program called the contribution refunds towards deposit, mostly referred to as a CRTD loan. Basically, what this benefit offers is, instead of taking your refunds every year, when it becomes available, you can use the refunds towards, for example, you can use it towards a deposit. The deposit should not, they don't allow more than 15% of the price of the unit to be used. Sorry, the price of the property to be used for the CRTD loan. So, for example, you would have a property for $15 million. So basically, you could get up, if you have so much funds in your refund, you can get up to $2.25 million from the from the loan. So you see where it says CRTD allows contribution to borrow up to 100% of their available contribution, which are not yet due for a refund, providing that it does not exceed 15% of the selling price of the property being purchased. And as I stated, the CRTD loan can be used for deposit. It can be used for legal fees. It also can be used where you have a shortfall. So for example, you might have put up a deposit, and then after you would have went to the financial institution or NHT, either financial institution and NHT, or NHT alone and financial institution. But anywhere there is a shortfall, at the end of getting a letter of commitment from the NHT or the financial institution, if it's a shortfall, the NHT allows you to use a CRTD loan to make up for that shortfall. It can also be used for things like surveyor's ID report, a valuation report, and the structural engineer report. It also allows you to use it to pay your property taxes. The CRTD loan, I think, is a good idea, and just to note, is not really a loan. How it works is that you will get, I think they go back 8 years, either 8 or 7 years, but the most current contribution, they will hold that contribution. And what will happen is that when the contribution, so when every year you hear they come out and say that persons are, at 2013, so persons can now apply for their contribution. What will happen is that when that contribution become available, you will not be able to apply for the contribution because you would have already received the benefit of the refund using towards one of the categories that I mentioned above. So you'd have already used the refund. So what they will do is that they will just take that refund that it becomes due or become available and put it towards the loan that you would have taken, because we are getting the refund in advance. So you will not be able, you can't go on January 1st and apply for the refund. You will not get it because you would have already taken the refund towards your home acquisition. So it's a very good idea to to um to think about, should there need to be a shortfall or you want it to use as a deposit and so forth. And what you can do is you can contact the NHT to see how much you're eligible for. Or you don't even have to contact, because I did a letter from them once, and based on the amount that was given in the letter, um, if you have the NHT online, you can use the NHT online and you're able to check how much you would be able to receive from the NHT. So you can go on the website and sign up for the NHT online. This is how it look, and then you can register. I think it'll ask if I know your basic name, TRN, NIS, and when you register now, you'll be able to track all your contributions, not contribution, your deductions that would have been paid over annually. So you're able to see it. So if from a company or from a self-employed, and you'll be able from there now to see how much money you'll be able to get towards your contribution to refund, and you will get some additional amount on that because the NHT normally pays you an interest on the refunds, right? So you can use the NHT online to have an idea of how you could go about in getting the refunds, or how much you would be able to get if you should not want to go in and get the eligibility letter for the contribution to refund. But should you want to get that letter, you will need your NIS, your TRN, and if you're an employee, you will need a letter from your employer stating current gross income, last 3 pay slip. If you're self-employed, you need a certificate of contribution from the NHT compliance department. You need a proof of identification such as a valid passport, driver's license, so far. Driver's license and national ID. I think those ones is when you're applying for the CRTD. But if you're just applying for the eligibility letter, you just need for example, pay slip, TRN, NIS, and then you'll go in and they will do the assessment and see how much you'll qualify for. But when you're going to do the application for the CRTD, you will need the things that I mentioned before, and they would want to also, based on reading the requirements that they need, I would say you have to bear in mind it will take a while for the process, because for example, if you're applying for the deposit, to use towards a deposit, you will have to have a statement of accounts and a copy of the stamped sales agreement from the vendor. I think for the deposit it will be a tricky one for the open market, because as you know, the developers need the deposit to guarantee the selection of the lots. So the deposit would be a sticky way of using it if you're going that route, else you know that you possibly might get left out of the development, because developers are wanting person to come with the deposit upfront. And while this route now, you would have to, most developers are not giving a sales agreement before they receive a deposit. So I think maybe the NHT might have to look into that, even though it kind of a way, because you don't have any legal document that will prove that you're really going into home ownership. But more than likely, if you go and speak to them, maybe they will have a route around it. And you're going to need attorney, also the letter of undertaking from the vendor's attorney, But so the deposit route will be a bit tedious, because maybe by the time you would go through all these process, and as I mentioned, developers are not giving sales agreement before. Well, I'm not going to say not giving. Most developers will not give a sales agreement before you do a deposit, because the sales agreement, basically deposit, they would say the deposit is used as a interest, and also will use also to legal costs and so forth in developing the sales agreement. But for example, if you need it for a shortfall, you would need a statement from the vendor. So the statement from the vendor would basically state that, for example, you would have done a deposit, you would have received a letter of undertaking from the bank, but when after that you still have some money outstanding to the developer. So at that time now they will give you a statement showing the breakdown of the cost and how much funds you would have put in your deposit and the commitment that you would have received from the financial institution. And then now you would be able to apply now for the CRTD loan. And then now you would need a statement, you need a sales agreement, and more than likely you'd have to get maybe a lawyer to act on your behalf in that case. So it's a good idea to think about. And you know that home ownership comes with a lot of, they would say, stress, but sometimes you just have to push through. It might be a little challenging at first, but push through and see your best, things can work out for you. So yeah, so that is the CRTD loan, and even though it says NHT assisting to find your deposit, as I mentioned, go to the NHT, because I went there and received a document showing all the things that the CRTD is able to use for. So legals, fees, shortfall, your surveyor's report, and it can even use for property taxes. So speak to the NHT. You can send them an email at theweekhere@nht.gov.jm. You know that now we are in a pandemic, so they more likely prefer you communicate electronically more than visiting the office, and also less time as well. So the next benefit, which I think is a good one from the NHT, for especially for the young persons, is the cluster housing loan. All right. So basically, the cluster housing loan allows two persons, for example, who have identified a suitable parcel of land that have been brought under a registration of Titles Act and is large enough to be subdivided into not more than 9 lots. Will you provide you the loan amount to that? Provide you the loan amount. So for example, they show there is that if 3 persons qualify for house lots of 1 million each, when the maximum cluster housing loan that could be applied for would be 3 million. The loan can be used to facilitate acquisition, subdivision of the property, installation of infrastructure, and splintering of titles. Alright. So basically, the cluster housing is that you'd say you're building your own little scheme. So as they say, no more than, so you can say, so 2 is the minimum and 18 is the maximum, because why this? Even though they say 9 lots, remembering that one lot can have 2 applicants come together and do the lot. So how it works is that, for example, you know the NHT gives 2.5 million for purchasing of land. Suppose you have 4 persons and the land is selling for $5 million. Alright? So 4 of you and the land is selling for $5 million. So basically that will be 1.25 each. So you would below the amount that the NHT gives, which is a 2.5 for land. So you will be able to come together, all 4 of you, purchase the land. When you purchase the land now, you go about now and dividing the land equally, or you might purchase it based on how much, you might split it based on how much funds you put in. Because what you might find, suppose it's a big enough land and you work out an agreement where, example, I put more money because I want 2 acres, while another person will put a portion because they only have 1 acre, want 1 acre. So what they will do is that you will split up the land according to how much money you put in, if you're not going to put in money equally. The cluster housing, I would say, is a good idea, but also you have to use this loan or venture this route if you're going to do it with persons who you can trust, because you wouldn't want to start the process and then afterwards now the person will jump out of the process, not interested, because that will affect you. So you have to do it with someone who you can trust, someone who you are able to live with, because more than likely the person will be your neighbor. As I said, you're building your own little community. So you'll be able now to build your scheme, and as I say, the loan can help to facilitate. So you're able to facilitate the infrastructure work. So the installation of water, pipes, lighting. You might even use it to build. Suppose you like to build like a security post when you're building your whole little community. So infrastructure work, and then now you split up the land. After splitting up the land now, what you know, each person will be on their own from there. And each person will now be paid NHT, the NHT loan by themselves. It will not be a combination of things, because you would have just combined for the purchase of the property. So when you purchase a property, now you're going to split up the property and each person will get their title. After that, now you will go about building. And remember, the difference from the 6.5 that you have left, you will get it for the building. So for example, if it is you use a 2.5 for you use a whole 2.5 land amount, then now you will have your 4 million to go and build. And a wise thing to do maybe is, what you could do is hire one person, one set of persons for everyone. So for example, you hire one architect that will do the design, one land surveyor, one structural engineer. Maybe you can even hire one contractor to do the work for you. So you hire it cheaper for you within the cluster, because you guys would, instead of you alone finding the cost for all those services, you guys pool together and pay the person based on what everyone would come together and divide out the cost that the different personnel will be providing. So it's a good idea. As I mentioned, it has to be done with persons who are really interested in home ownership, persons who you can trust, and so forth. But I think this is a good program for, especially for young persons. And I know of persons that go in that route and purchase it. Some person might say that they are not land for a certain price, but if you find the right amount of person, for example, a $5 million land that you alone was going to purchase, and you know you will only able to get 2.5 from the NHT, you can find 4 of you or so and come together and purchase it 1.25 each, and you still have 5 million odd to go and do your purchasing. So it's a good route to venture, especially in this time where if you're going to just rely on just NHT housing solution, which you're not going to be getting selected so much easy. So you can look at the benefits and the things that the NHT put in place to help in the home ownership process. So you see where the NHT says they will fix the infrastructure costs not exceeding 30% of the house lot loan maximum limit. And the house, as I mentioned, the house lot loan is access denied 2.5 million to purchase. And the development is subject to approval by our technical committee. The application must provide proof of balance to complete infrastructure work. And then we require a letter of undertaking from the purchaser's attorney indicating that he or she has applied or will apply for a splinter title and will forward the same. And the splinter title is basically the splitting up of the land, because remember, when you purchase it, purchasing it will be just one big property. Just it is just similar to a development. So when a developer purchases a property, they will purchase the property, one big property, and will have just one volume number and one title registered at the titles office. But what they will do after that, now when each person apply, and you go through your mortgage process, the land will be split up according to each person. So each person now within the development will have their own title, name on the title, their own volume number and folio number. So you will not, so basically the folio number of that property will be no longer the first one that was purchased by the developer, because each person within that property now will have their own title. So the same would apply to this cluster housing solution. So necessary for young persons, if you have persons, friends, close friends that you can work with, you can go the route of the cluster housing solution or the cluster housing solution or benefit program that the NHT provides. Come together with the persons and purchase a lot, and then you go from there, do the necessary infrastructure work, split up the lots, and then you go about and building from there, because that is a very good idea, where you can able to find a property, a decent size lot that is able to, our land that is easy to split and so forth. We'll not have any problem splitting and things. So that is a good route, and then you go from there and building. And remember, you can join, so they allow to make minimum 2 persons to do it, maximum 18, but the maximum lots are 9, because as I mentioned, 2 persons can come together. Even better for you, 2 persons can come together for 1 lot. So you and your partner, family member, support can come together and purchase 1 lot. And for that 1 lot, if you are able to get the maximum amount the NHT offer, that you and that person coming together can pool and get 5 million. So you'll be eligible for 2.5 each, so $5 million. Just that one partnership will be able to put in to that lot. So for example, if you see a property selling for 10 million and it's 4 persons getting the maximum, you're able to get the 2.5 still and split it. And if it's a case where the 4 persons would, for example, each is in a is coming as 1, are looking to do 1 lot, the property will just, the land will just be split in half each, because as I said, 2 persons can be on 1 lot, or 1 lot after the splitting. So that is a good idea to think about. And the cluster housing, so you have the joint program, which is basically putting together the NHT funds and the funds from the bank that you are eligible for, the CRTD loan, which is used towards deposits, legal fees, shortfall, surveyor's ID report, property taxes, and this cluster housing solution, which allows persons to come together and purchase purchase land, basically building your own development. You can decide who your neighbor is. You don't have to worry when you're moving, oh, what kind of neighbor I'm getting, because you already know your neighbor. So you can look into these things, especially persons. I I know the stress of the NHT housing solution, because one of the things where persons push towards it is a 100% financing. But I would say it makes no sense. You sit, apply every year, 2 years, go out, do your research, contact the NHT, find out programs that they have in place that you are able to use and go on the open market that will benefit you more. Maybe sometime and even going to the NHT, going with the NHT scheme. So I will leave the links to the various programs or benefits in the description. You can use the link to guide you along the way. Feel free to message or comment any questions you want to get answered, and I will surely try to answer to the best of my knowledge. But you can I will leave the links in the description with the various benefits where you can go on the NHT website. Very useful and informative website, and and read it. Also, most times the NHT program, they have a session on RGR. I think it's at 10:30 on Fridays, that they will come and speak about the various programs that they offer. It's good if persons could listen to it and be able to get a better idea of the various programs that is offered by the NHT. So thank you for watching this video, and look out for another one.